Hey, Gabriel Blake.
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
Where are we today?
We are in our respective homes. There's still a pandemic, and every time we try to find someplace, there's not a table on the street, or it's too loud to record. So we're just going to
Or,
be home till everything opens back up.
or there are like just fires all around and you cannot breathe outside.
You can't breathe. Yeah, no, this is just, it's not conducive to recording a podcast in a public bar right now.
Yeah, but we're still like, not holding our breath, but at least just hoping for better times for
Yes.
this. So, what do we watch today?
We watched a Michel Gondry film called The Science of Sleep, starring Gael Garcia Bernal and Charlotte Gainsbourg.
You didn't know that, no?
No, and I love her.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think that I actually forgot about it, and then I was checking the cast like, holy shit, that's true. That was the neighbor. Yeah. So I think that this was my pick. So
Yes, it was your pick.
yeah. So the reason why I picked this one is because when I was trying to explore movies by Michel Gondry in the 2000s, I ran into this one and I felt like really surprised that it was not more popular. Michel Gondry, I think that from an artistic direction is an amazing director, as we probably will be discussing in a moment. But at that point, when I watched it the first time, I felt weird about it, but I also thought that it would be like a really good follow-up from just talking about being John Malkovich. I think that there is like some similitudes, not only from directing Björk's video clips, but also from the style that they have comparing Spike Jonze and Michel Gondry. So I wanted to hear your opinion about it.
And you shall.
Okay, so what is this movie about?
No, that's not even fair. That's not. You can't even describe what this film is about, but I'll try.
Oh, you're telling me that this is harder to describe than me and John Malkovich?
I would argue yes. There's like a coherent story. So this movie is about Gael Garcia Bernal.
Him as a person.
Him as a person. It follows his real life. No. Okay, so Gael Garcia Bernal is the protagonist, we would call. His name is Stefan. Right, Stefan. His father is Mexican. His mother is
French.
Parisian, French. And we come into his life just as his father recently died in Mexico to cancer, and his mother found a job for him in Paris and asked him to come to France, and he did. So he arrives in France. That's when we meet him. In fact, the whole thing's in France, right? The whole thing's in Paris.
In Paris, yeah.
He then is going to work, and his neighbor is moving a piano into her apartment, and he offers to help, and he gets injured when the piano falls on him in what is the film's most slapstick moment in a film full of silly moments. So then essentially it's a love story between Charlotte Gainsbourg and Gael Garcia Bernal, but not in any sense of like the traditional way at all. This is the weirdest film, and in a good way. I'm just saying it's surrealist, it's absurdist, much like John Malkovich, and their relationship is very odd, and also there's the comic relief of his actual job where he's miserable in his mundane work, and Gael has always, they say in the film, inverted what dreams are versus reality, and so there's this increasing, I don't know if it's a plot device, but there's increasingly you don't know if he's asleep and dreaming or if he's awake, and their relationship is almost asexual with Charlotte Gainsbourg, and it's like on again, off again, and it's just weird. At some points, he holds a talk show in his dream.
He always holds a talk show on his dream.
Yeah. It doesn't start at some point, but like he has this talk show, and I don't know. It's just.
So, the only thing that I would add to that is that basically, as they describe, Gael Garcia Bernal is a very imaginative young guy. And he actually likes to just take like the absurd ideas that you will have on a dream, to reality and just using his imagination, and how he connects with the neighbor, with Charlotte Gainsbourg, is actually through that. Because she's almost like that, but she can actually function as a regular human being.
So let's get to scoring.
So did you like it?
I did overall, and for some reason, I didn't see this movie, even though I was well aware of it. And in my mind, I thought it was rated PG. It's not. It's very rated R for some nudity and sexual content. There's no...
You can see Gael Garcia Bernal's dick.
Yes, and also he works at a calendar company, and there's lots of nude women in the calendars. And yes, Gael's pelo?
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. I can't keep track of all the terms for dick in Spanish. His dick does show up, which it's lovely, and I've missed it since Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Okay.
Yes, I did like it. For some reason, I didn't see it in 2006. I think it's because I had such strong feelings about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind when it came out in 2004. I loved it, and I didn't want to be disappointed by Michel Gondry.
Okay.
Something I didn't like. That's my guess as to why I didn't see it 15 years ago when it came out.
Gotcha.
It's interesting that we just watched Being John Malkovich because you can compare them a lot, except
yes.
I think that Michel Gondry's world is a little bit nicer and cuter, and where...
Well, I mean, I think that in this one, it's also like he's focusing on trying to depict a world that is dreamlike.
That's true. And in an interesting sharp contrast to Spike Jonze, who embraced special effects, Michel Gondry avoided all of them and preferred stop motion effects. And he builds these beautiful worlds out of like day-to-day materials and fabrics and items. And it's really, really captivating what he does. The dream world he's able to create is really stunning. And it feels like trying to describe what this film is, it's like trying to describe a dream, right? Like it made sense to you in the morning and it had some sort of emotional impact, but then when you try and tell your boyfriend or your sister or your friend, it doesn't mean anything to them. So for that, I liked it. I think Gael is very strong. I think Charlotte Gainsbourg is incredibly strong. It's good, but I don't think it's impactful. And I'm sorry to jump to one of the questions we talk about at the end. I kept thinking I'm enjoying this, but I'm not going to remember this.
Funny enough, I remember half of it. Is that the only thing that I didn't remember it was the ending. I thought that the ending was like, okay, they actually go on the date, and then they end up like just arguing about something, and just Charlotte Gainsbourg like telling Gael Garcia Bernal is that I cannot help you, just get out of my life. But it's not like that. It's a bit more like what I like on this time watching this movie that I didn't realize is about like the nuances, about like how the characters are developed. They are not like a one-dimensional characters. They actually have like way more to them about like the fear of rejection, you know, and about like what about if I'm actually using my dreams as a way for actually protecting myself from being damaged, but at the same time I want to be with the other person. And his friend from work, this guy, yeah, that one was amazing, and I found him a bit hot, you know. But how he tells him that is it may be like one of those persons that one of those people that is going to be like just projecting this kind of insecurities, and it's going to be like just pushing people away if you get too close. And that's what Gael Garcia Bernal does. He's the kind of person that I want to connect to other people. I have like this imagination that I want to share with the world, and he finds like the perfect fit for him, that is the neighbor, but at the same time he's afraid of just being rejected because internally he's just a kid that he never grew up. I
completely agree with you. I think it definitely explores all of what you said, particularly the fear of rejections getting in the way of what you want, but also at some point he pursues her pretty aggressively and she's like, I don't want a boyfriend.
But come on, I mean, the thing that I actually even almost I felt identified, that is okay, you were not too interested on her until she told you that she's not interested in you or in anyone. And at that point is like when you're like, oh no, I really want this person. So I felt like, okay, I have that, I actually just suffered through that in the past.
So to add a little bit to the plot description, when the piano falls on him, he meets Charlotte Gainsbourg and her friend Zoe, and he's initially very smitten with Zoe and wants to use Charlotte Gainsbourg to get to her friend. And then once, just as you mentioned, she says she's not interested, then all of a sudden he's the love of her life and the only interesting person in the world.
Well, because I think that he was just indexing from the perspective of Zoe, the neighbor's friend. She's like a gorgeous Parisian girl. She's almost like, okay, she's like perfect from a body perspective. But then when she started like just talking with the neighbor, is that she actually realized like we are the same soul. We actually share the same kind of spirit about like just using imagination and just rolling with it.
I did find there was a wonderful sense of a cycle being completed. I'm not saying this very eloquently, but the symmetry of how the story began, and he put the note under her door and took it back, and then at the end she has the note for him. Like, there is so much thought put into this film that I'm sure I could watch it 5 times and discover some thoughtful thing that Michel Gondry put in that I never noticed. That you can tell there's a lot here, and this film was created with a lot of care.
Yeah, I had to say that I told you that I was this one like probably like close to its release. I mean, it was released in 2006. Maybe I watched it in 2008, and I liked it, but I also felt like, this is like one of those exercises of aesthetics over substance. Now that I watch it again, I think that there is more substance than I realized the first time. That is like it's pretty easy to just over-index about like how dreamy some of the scenes are. But I think that the parts where they are developing the characters are decent. Are like they have like just a justification for actually having like a full movie about this. It's not an excuse to just have like an scene with Gael Garcia Bernal having gigantic hands and not being able to operate.
So that the fun fact, that's a real reoccurring nightmare that Michel Gondry had as a child.
Okay.
Yeah. He actually wanted to be an inventor and a painter as a child, and he became a filmmaker. So I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I would argue that, for instance, Stefan, Gael Garcia Bernal, I don't think he was well developed as a character. I mean, he was just kind of like shown to be a child, but that's not character development.
No, but the thing is, like, he's portrayed as a child, with this Peruvian hat. I don't know exactly what is the official name for those. These wool hats. Yeah, with the hat cover, with the ear cover. But he actually is forced to progress as a human being when he meets another adult. When he actually meets this, okay, you have like this other like child spirit, like kid spirit that is your neighbor, but at the same time it's an adult. It's like it's someone that just embraces that fantasy that you have about dreams and impossible things, but it can operate in the real world. You cannot operate on the real world. So he's like just facing that conundrum about like, I'm in love with her because I can actually see what I could be, and we actually share something in common.
I couldn't disagree with you more, man. Like the guy we met when he arrived in Paris, he was a reasonable adult human being. He explained what has happened to him. He went to his work, and at the end he becomes so childish that he can't handle any sort of feedback that's negative, and he sobs himself asleep in Stephanie's bed. Like, he digressed from being normal.
But digression doesn't mean that it cannot be negative. Progression of a character doesn't mean that it cannot be negative.
Right, but you were saying that he was forced to progress. I don't think so. He completely regressed.
He forced to evolve. But he actually chose to actually think that is that look, I'm actually just being faced with this other human being that is like me, but it can operate in the real world when it's pretty clear that I can't. So instead of actually just racing to the occasion, like racing to the challenge, is that he actually just regrets and say like, okay, it's going to be easier for me to just try to make her hate me. So
yeah,
she hates
I
me.
agree with that. That self-sabotaging thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And exactly what he does when he actually gets his date with her is that when he's about to get there, is that fear about like just finding the CEO like a homeless person and getting scared. Is like, no, she left. Is like, that's actually his subconscious. Is that his subconscious is actually just telling him, is that look, if you never face her, you're never going to be like falling in love with her, and you're never going to be like potentially at some point like just facing rejection for her. You see, actually wants to break up. So it's a self-defense mechanism.
So just because of what you're saying, I would like you to interpret the final scene of this film and tell me what it meant.
I think that there is a point. They're really similar, both of the characters, but he says at a point that he wanted to protect the neighbor. What's her name? The name of the character? Stephanie. That's right. Stephanie. Yeah.
Because Michel Gondry wanted you to be very clear. They're two people cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. So Stefan wants to protect Stephanie. And he actually says, is that, I thought that Stephanie needed protection and I wanted to be like just the knight in the shining armor for her. But she doesn't. She doesn't need that protection. She's like a grown-up woman. It's like she doesn't need anyone. And Stephanie, at the end of the day, she also has that part in common when she goes into the bed about like, okay, I want to leave, fuck you. But at the same time, I want to just try your bed because I saw it on my dreams. And he goes up there and says, just touch my hair. Just made me feel like this kid that is being protected. And she's like, I don't want to do that. But at the end, she actually feels this kind of, I can see myself like partially reflected in this human being, but I also can see myself like just wanting to protect him.
But that's not the final scene.
Oh, you mean like the horse? Like just going
what does that mean? What, did they end up together?
We don't know that. But it's like what I envision in my mind is that that's the dream that he has as he's falling asleep while Stephanie is just caressing him. It's okay, and just dreaming about the stuff that we have in common. That is like the horse that I stole from her house for just adding an
engine.
engine.
Golden Boy, right? Is that the name? Pony the Golden
Boy? I think so. And from that perspective, is that he's just mixing up like different things and a desire about like, I want us to be together. I want us to be in this dream world that I envision where we don't have to face the outside world. But the difference between them is that he's partially afraid of, he's not prepared to face in the outside world, and she is. For her, it's a bit more like just doing this kind of crazy stuff is cool, but it's a distraction. And a distraction.
That's what defines her.
Exactly. But for him, it is. For him, it's like, I'm going to have like this time travel machine, and she will roll with that. She will find it funny and cute, but it's not who she is.
Interesting. Maybe that's the reason she didn't want to be boyfriends with him, is because she liked him a lot, but she saw that he is a very limited human being.
Yeah.
Who was a child, essentially.
Yeah, the funny thing is that the reading that I had from the first time that I watched this movie, and what I remember, is that she basically realizes about this, and she tells him, I don't want anything with you, because you are not a functioning adult human being.
But didn't she say she didn't want a boyfriend? It's not that she rejected him. She didn't
Exactly. But at the end is that that a couple of scenes later, he's like, okay, go with me on a date. And at that point is that he actually displays that he's a kid. And that is like, oh, no. I'm too afraid of you. So I'm going to be like just making a story that you actually just left, and I'm going to be like just knocking on your door and then just crashing into your door.
So assuming your reading is correct, and to be honest, I'm starting to agree with you, but if that's correct, what is the point of this film? To watch some infantile grown man sabotage himself in a relationship?
What is the point of being John Malkovich?
No, you said that this is a higher, more like elevated film that explores a lot of like...
No. Look, we're not getting to the score yet or to the specifics, I love being John Malkovich. I think that this surprised me the second time because I thought that it's like one of these like a form over substance. But now I feel like there is a bit more of substance. I think that the message there is like just detaching from reality, it may actually make you happier. It can make you happier. That the science of sleeps that come across, but at the same time is that you're not going to be able to connect with other human beings, because that's something that you cannot do in a dream, because even Guy Garcia Bernal imagines Charlotte Gainsbourg in his dreams, but she's like a bit more of a chirpier version, and he always rolls out with whatever he says, but in reality it's like, I am going to be like facing you with some of the bullshit that you're doing. And at that point, it's like you have to just behave as an adult, as a human being.
So, what is it that you think the point of this film is?
The point of this film, what would you say that is the point of being John Malkovich? I'm sorry to actually just keep bringing John Malkovich, but we talk about it recently.
This is something called deflection, and you're not allowed to do it. Just answer the damn question. And I said the last podcast that I don't think there's much to John Malkovich, or being John Malkovich, that he just wanted to be entertaining and weird. And it's super entertaining, and that's all that I think it's trying to be.
Don't you think that this is also super entertaining and weird?
I wouldn't say it's entertaining on the same level as John Malkovich.
Okay, no, that's fair.
About like, I don't know, 80% of the way through, I was like, oh, we got to wrap this up. This is like, it's too much.
The first time that I watched it, I agree with you, is that this is only the second time that I watched this movie, and I felt like significantly more engaged. What I would say is that it actually falls into the magic realism. It actually just reminded me of Amélie, but just going to the Björk video clip, Björk music video area about, okay, you are like just making it like really weird right now. But I think that the point is that it's great to just try to evade reality and just try to just detach from the bad stuff and the shitty stuff that is happening in your life, like the job that you have that is not fulfilling, or the relationship that doesn't keep materializing with someone that you really like. But at the same time, is that at some point you need to face what is going on. Is that you cannot keep evading what is going on.
So you would say this film has a message?
No. I think that it's also like similar to being John Malkovich. If you force me to come up with a message, I would tell you a message, but it's also a movie that is going to be okay with just being visually appealing.
I'm not trying to force you into a corner, but I'm curious when you say that this film has more substance than being John Malkovich, because I don't.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that is like both of them, they are on the same kind of league.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Now, what I said is that the first time that I watched it, I thought that this is completely empty. Completely. Is it just a narration about like something completely random and just making a bit more like dreamlike? And now I felt that the script was better than what I thought. That they actually like a bit more of, like development on the characters, that there is another layer to it that is not about like just trying to make it look cool on the screen.
I will say that for whatever reason, my idea of this film was tainted when just going into it. It's the reason I never watched it, despite me loving Gael and loving Michel Gondry. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I thought it was a really good film. It was interesting. The special effects, which aren't like computer generated, it's really beautiful. The way he manages to mix the dream world with reality, I thought it was just so perfectly representative of my own experience with sleep and dreams. I was impressed with this film, to be honest, and it's been a long time since I've seen a Michel Gondry film that I liked.
What was the last one that you watched?
Let me see. I mean, he hasn't, in my opinion, produced much of anything good in the last 10 years.
Well, he hasn't produced too much stuff, to be fair.
A lot of shorts.
Yeah, I think the last one was Microbe and Gasoline.
Oh, see, and that trailer super turned me off, but maybe it's fantastic. I sold him short with Science of Sleep. Oh, you saw it?
I saw it, yeah, and it's okay. It's the kind of thing, it's like he has a style. He has something that he loves to do. Like this kind of, let's use imagination as we were like just kids. It's like if you actually just put kids on the role. It's like you even just lose the kind of contrast that you have in this movie that I think that is interesting about like, yeah, you cannot operate as a kid because you are no longer a kid. You have to face the challenges of life. So, but it still
So
looks
it
pretty
looks
cool.
like in the last 10 years, the only two feature-length films he directed was that and The Green Hornet. So yeah, I can confirm in the last 10 years he hasn't done shit.
I didn't watch the Hornet, but okay, I could believe you.
Well, in 2009, he did do one episode of Flight of the Conchords. I'm sure that was a very good episode. I love that
Probably.
show.
Oh, you do? I'm surprised about that.
Why? Because you're the one who doesn't like comedy, not me.
That's true, but it's like the thing is that this is a very slightly uncomfortable comedy.
I love The British Office, Jose. I love it.
Okay, no, that's fair. So, would you recommend this movie?
To be honest, I don't think I would. I'm thinking of all the people I talk to. That's about 5-6 people, including you. I don't know that anybody I know would be interested in this film. I don't know that anybody would appreciate it. I think it's a very niche audience that this film is for.
Would you recommend it to me?
No.
Huh.
But that's saying more about me, obviously, than you. You like the film. But there's nothing in this film that I'm like, wow, this is incredible. It's solid, it's good, but if somebody comes to me and says, hey, can you recommend me a really good film? This is never a film that's going to pop up as this.
What about if someone tells you, I love Amelie, can you recommend me another film like that?
Amelie, you said?
Yeah.
To be honest, I would recommend Delicatessen.
Wow.
That seems the most like Amelie to me.
Holy shit, no. I mean, they're directed by the same people, but they're like exactly the opposite.
But it has that same atmosphere of this dreamlike world, but...
Sure, like the Lost of this. God, that's a dark movie, man. It's that they eat people.
I only remember very little about that film.
Maybe we should watch it, yeah. Because I watched it on a VHS, when we were just record, renting all these movies, and I felt shocked by the movies that they're eating people.
We watched this movie in high school French class to learn French better.
Delicatessen?
Yeah.
How old were you?
Let's see, I was 16 and 17.
Okay, I mean, maybe I'm okay age for that, but
I'm pretty sure we didn't watch the whole thing. I think they showed us the scene that was fine because we lived in a rural Idaho, which is, Puritans.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I was 13 when I watched it, and I was extremely freaking shocked by the movie.
But to get back to your point, would I recommend this to somebody who liked Amelie? This movie doesn't connect to anything. I didn't feel any big emotions when I watched it, which for me, feeling big emotions is why I watch movies. I want to feel something larger than I experience in my day-to-day life. So I don't know if this film was just too subtle for me, or maybe I'm not interested in love stories. Something about it just didn't work.
No, all right. Well,
wait, I want to be clear. I think the film works 100%. I liked it. It's just not something that stands out as something to be recommended.
Okay. Are you going to remember this movie?
I don't think so. I mean, I'll probably remember snippets, but I won't remember any details. I'll remember Gael Garcia Bernal's dick.
So what do you think of from the aesthetics perspective? Is this artistically pleasing?
Yeah. I think I said before, the world he's able to create, the dream world, it's really beautiful. It's not my aesthetic, but I can appreciate it 100%. I think it's awesome. I think the idea that they connected about this boat, and he helped contribute to this idea of trees in a boat looking for the sea, which is mare, which sounds like mother. That motif that showed up over and over again. There's a lot that's really cool here. A lot. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I would recommend this movie. I actually did recommend it yesterday. to a friend that he realized magic realism. So I told him, it's okay if you watch Amélie, as I know that you like Gabriel Garcia Marquez books, about like magic realism. It's like I think that you will like this because it's the same idea. It's about like just looking at the daily basis, daily life, and just finding something crazy that it could happen anywhere.
So you would recommend it when you know somebody likes this type of film, but you wouldn't recommend it to an average film goer?
But the thing is, I think that it's enjoyable. I think that it's like pretty easy to digest.
It is, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that it's good entertainment, even if you don't want to rely too much into it. Is that the visual aspects are like so easy to consume that I think that is fine. The thing is, like after Michel Gondry directed this, I think that he directed Please Be Kind, Rewind.
No, that was before.
I was before this?
Mm-hmm.
Huh, okay. Yeah.
Just because we looked at his last 10 years.
No, it's after.
Yeah.
It's after. It's like 2006, 2008. And the thing is, like, Be Kind, Rewind, it's like it also just, it actually just builds on the idea of just this imagination on the daily basis and this kind of heartwarm feeling.
I think that like Be Kind, Rewind?
I thought that it was like one of the most less transcendental movies that I ever watched in my life. That is,
if
like,
you have to give it a score right now, 1 to 10, what would you score it?
5.5, 6 is a bit more like, it was cute. I
don't know if I was in the wrong frame of mind, but I would give it a 2. I hated that movie. I thought, this is trite that convinces lowest common denominator cinema goers, oh, this is cinema, it's so creative. No, this was a very basic, stupid idea.
I don't feel like it was trying to be anything else more than a visual entertainment about like, oh yeah, we have to recreate all these 80s and 90s classics, with zero budget. I found it like super cute, but at the same time, I found it super cute. It's non-transcendental whatsoever. It's a bit more like you had a good idea, you actually played okay. But even
for some reason, you hired Jack Black to carry this piece of short script.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy. Sure, if you want to go with that, sure, yeah, that's fine. I told you, I watched it, and it was like one of those movies that I finished watching it. I'm never going to be like thinking about this again. If someone just mentioned Michel Gondry, I could remember that I watched it, and I would remember like the premise of the movie, but I barely remember any scene. I only remember like the premise of it.
So I liked this movie more than that, but I feel like everything you just said describes it. It's a good idea. It was beautiful, and I will never think about this film again.
Honestly, if you had asked me like 2 weeks ago before I picked this movie about how I felt about it, I may actually say something like that about like this is all form over substance. There is nothing to it. And I don't know if this time I was like just looking really, really hard for just having like a saving grace. But I found it. I mean, I was impressed by it. Honestly, it's like I felt like, okay, you have like a bit more to it than it actually just meets the eye. If you only like just stay with the visual aspect, that is good. So I would recommend this movie. And not only to specific people. I think that is like if for some other people they ask me about, oh, can you recommend me like a crazy movie from the 2000s? I will be like just thinking for a moment. It may not be my first, second, third, fourth pick. But eventually,
maybe not the 7th, 8th, 9th, maybe not.
But I will get to it. I can see myself like just, I can actually just having like this dream about like seeing myself telling to some other human being, this was the science of sleep. It's a good movie.
All right, that's fair. And I suppose with the right person who has the right interests, it's not that I wouldn't say, don't watch this movie. I did like it. I feel like I'm being overly critical because I enjoyed my time with the film. I just think it's going to be it's not going to stay with me.
No, it's completely fair. I think that it is stuck with me when I watched it the first time. And now I developed a bit more of an interest for it. And I asked you before we started recording this, if you had read any kind of interview with Michel Gondry about it, because I'm curious to see if there's like some kind of a self-experience that you mentioned that the house is something that he dreamed about and is one of the most iconic points of it. But come on, didn't you think about Bachelorette the music video while watching this.
Oh, I was like, wasn't there a movie called Bachelorette? It was good. It was really good, starring Kirsten Dunst. To be honest, I'm well aware that Björk discovered him and boosted him to superstardom, but I didn't want to this was a conscious choice not to think about his music videos because they're such different mediums that I was like, nope, I need to just experience the film for what it is and not because I'm obsessed with Björk.
That's completely fair. I agree. There are like two different types of work, but I saw like some kind of correlation about like he has an aesthetic that is like pretty clear that he actually just reuses in Be Kind Rewind, about like just finding this dream-like property from everyday elements.
It is like he has a visual grammar. It's like we were talking about Charlie Kaufman in the last one. He knows what tools are in his toolbox and he uses them beautifully, but they are a limited amount of tools. The same goes, and that's not a negative. I'm not saying they're restrictive in their skills. It's the same with Michel Gondry. He knows what he's good at and he builds these worlds very well.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about this movie that I think is that he actually just tries to face the contrast about like, what about if someone were living by those tools? And it's like, how could he actually just reacting to human life if his way of just coping with reality is just looking at his toolbox and say like, this is my reality, but it's like, I actually live in a real world out there. So I think like, I don't know if there may be like some kind of autobiographical perspective to it.
I'm sure there are. I can't remember if we said this while recording, but when he was a child, he wanted to be an inventor and a painter, and Gael Garcia Bernal is both an inventor and an illustrator. He's having the same nightmares that Gondry had as a child. So it would be interesting to learn more about the film. I agree. I would recommend it to the right person. I think the artistry, I was saying to you definitely before we recorded, I don't understand how someone can come up with a script like this in their mind. It's incredibly complex and beautiful and beyond my imaginative skills. Overall, I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Gotcha. Should we score this then?
Yeah, but you go first.
My score is an 8.
Mine is a 7. I think it's definitely better than mediocre. But for me, there's a limit to how long the movie will stay with me.
Yeah, I mean, if you had actually asked me my score before we rewatch it, I would probably be a 7 or a 7.5 tops. But after rewatching it this second time, I felt, I mean, it got to a point that it actually just clicked with me. That is like, okay, there is like some campiness to it. There is some stupidity to it. But at the same time, there is heart in it. And there is actually like just proper development of things that I was not expecting. Yeah, that I was not expecting to see it. Is that now I actually like this movie more than when I watched it like 12 years ago or whenever I watched it.
I would be disappointed if Michel Gondry had done this, but I found myself at the very end craving resolution. I think it works better without it, but I just wanted to know how things ended up for these two characters. And that showed that it made me care about them, which is not that common for me.
Yeah, I think that he does that completely on purpose. I mean, because it's not the point about like, if they end up together or not. It's a bit more like just displaying that two imaginative people that probably they are like, both of them are him. They are Michel Gondry, how they actually just evolve in a different way, and can they actually just converge into just a single unit. So
now you're making me like the film more.
Honestly, I was surprised, I was surprised that it's like, holy shit, it's pretty easy to just think about this movie and only think about like Gael Garcia Bernal with these giant hands, like just bopping into everything and just pointing them, like just pushing them away, or the guy just making very inappropriate jokes, like just calling them like lesbians and faggots.
That was so funny, but also was like, this doesn't work in 2020, man.
I say, look, this was 13 years ago. At that point, it was already weird, the joke that you were doing.
The guy being called all the names, he's like, faggots was one thing, but to call me a dyke.
So at that point, that I don't go through that. At that point, look, that's But at the same time, I feel like this is the kind of absurd, like French comedy That is like, we cannot forget that Michel Gondry is still French.
He's very, very, very French.
But in any case, his most famous movie is The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with George Kaufman, and that's actually an American movie.
Well, that's because we're exceptional.
Could you be down to watch that?
Of course I would, yeah. I would watch. I've seen that movie several times. Yeah, I think that is his most famous film. I swear there was some. Oh, I was thinking of the Radiohead music videos.
That's his most famous stuff.
That's what everyone loves about him. Man, he did Isabel. He did Army of Me, Hyper Ballad.
Yeah, I love Hyper Ballad. And Bachelorette.
I don't know if we've shared this story on the podcast, but Jose and I met for the first time at a Björk concert, which is a very special story for me.
Yeah.
It's like Björk gave me Jose. Thanks, Björk.
Yeah, and I say yeah. He said yeah. It's a very special story for Blake.
Jose doesn't care.
I don't care.
It's special.
No, yeah, that concert was amazing. Yeah, and the setting and everything, it was like pretty a very unique setting. But yeah, I had the feeling that it's very interesting that a director that it was like so visual with these video clips with a very specific visual style. I'm impressed that he could make something like this.
I completely agree. The world he created in his mind is really, really impressive.
Yeah, and it's melancholic sometimes because there is like this kind of sad feeling of Gael Garcia Bernal having like just lost his parents and just being in a different country where he barely speaks the language, and maybe I can correlate with that. And also at the same time like very imaginative and very uplifting, and as a kid loves to just look at everything with magic eyes, like just rose tinted, pink tinted,
rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like it's a magic movie. I don't think that it's as good as being John Malkovich, of course, because that actually has like the twist of having Charles Kaufman writing the script. But that's the other reason why I love. I would love to actually for us watching adaptation and also The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That I think that is like the peak of Charles Kaufman as a screenwriter, and also Spike Jonze and Michel Gondry as directors.
I have to say the pairing of the two movies was very, very nice. It was nice to have them compare and contrast.
Yeah.
So at some point in the future, if you want to do adaptation and Eternal Sunshine, that's fine.
Yeah.
We've both seen both of those.
Oh yeah.
For me, Science of Sleep was new. You had seen it.
Yeah. Oh, adaptation's already on the list.
Man, he did Human Nature.
Yep.
Knives Out. Ugh, Massive Attack.
What? Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Oh, he did Protection. That's right. Yeah. I love the video clip. It's so disturbing.
So I was just reading. When he went to school, they created a band, he and his friends, and they released 2 albums. And he directed a music video for their band, and that's what was shown in whatever form on MTV. And Björk saw that music video and said, "Hey, come to my music videos," which I think is a really cool story.
Yeah, it is. It is really pretty nice. So, did you see that actually they record a music video on this movie? That is like all the people from The Office and Gael Garcia Bernal dress up like cats, like furry cats.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually sing a version of a song by the Velvet Underground. If you close the door, forever. So I felt like that's pretty ingenious that you are still like just connecting with what are your roots, that you're not like just dropping that.
No, I'm impressed. I am impressed with Michel Gondry as a whole. He's clearly a very thoughtful, imaginative guy, creative. I liked the movie.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, if I think about like Microwave and Gasoline or Be Kind Rewind, I had the feeling that those fell short because the script was not as developed as this one. But this one is like I had the feeling that he put a lot of time into it.
Yeah, I agree. This is a much, much stronger script.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as strong as Eternal Sunshine, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Eternal Sunshine is placed in a different league of its own. That's the reason why I think that is like it's perfect, like just having such an imaginative screenwriter pair with such an imaginative director.
And this is the second Michel Gondry thing we've reviewed. Do you remember the first?
No. What did we review?
Tokyo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He did. What was the?
The story about the woman turning into a chair because no one was paying attention to her.
That was okay. That was amazing. I just remember like the other two stories, but I had to say that was a bit more like toned down compared to what out there Michel Gondry is.
But I also appreciate it because the film asked 7 non-Japanese directors to make a film dedicated to
3.
Tokyo, so that sorry, what did I say? 7?
7, yeah.
That's weird. So I appreciate that he was able to bring his talents and meet the mission of show us Tokyo.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we mentioned it back then, but I think that out of the 3 stories again, of the 3 stories, probably his was my favorite.
Agreed. I remember Leo's Carax because that was bizarre. I don't even remember Bong Joon-ho's. Oh,
but is
that
the
was
robot...
the guy who wouldn't leave the house and he had the pizza boxes. Okay.
Yeah. And then the girl is an android kind of thing. Yeah, it was weird.
The tattoo buttons.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that Leo Carax did his shit. He just completely disconnected from it. He did
I'm going
his
to
shit.
blow up Tokyo. A homeless man's going to throw bombs. Okay, got it.
That looks like a leprechaun. And Bong Joon-ho, I think that he tried really hard. He's like, okay, what is Tokyo about? He said, Tokyo's about this futurist thing and people are staying indoors. And he tried like really hard. And I think that the only one that just came up with something that it was like pretty intimate and nice, and actually just still like fit what was like the atmosphere, it was Michel Gondry. But still I just made it like visually appealing.
I loved his, the fact that she was horrified about turning into a chair, but then she realized, she just wanted to hold somebody up. I'll be a chair.
I can be happy being a chair. Yeah, so from that perspective, I think that Michel Gondry is a good director, and I wish that he was a bit more prolific. But also I wish that he worked with other people on the scripts. Is like this one works, but I can assure you that if we talk about Be Kind, Rewind, it's like you say that too. I don't think that I will get to the 5 on that one. I mean, it probably will be like 5. I say like 5.5, 6. But if I rewatch it again, maybe I'm going to be a bit more critical about it. I think that this is something that it worked.
Maybe
good.
I was just in a bad state of mind when I watched it, but I remember leaving the theater angry that I had just spent time and money on this. Like, this was a waste of time.
Yeah, something that I wanted to ask you is like, how did you feel about like just seeing Charlotte Gainsbourg in a movie without like 2 giant big black dicks like flopping around?
She is in like Lars von Trier's most fucked up films, like like Antichrist. Let's not even talk about any scene in Antichrist. And the film took place in Europe, and so it felt like she was just gonna be spit roasted by 2 giant dicks at any moment. Like, it didn't fit into this dreamlike world with innocent Gael Garcia Bernal. Like, no, you've got to jack off Willem Dafoe until he ejaculates blood. That's the only way that this.
Yeah, but it actually shows that she's more talented than I thought.
She was a great actress, but
yeah, I think that I was like a bit on the fence with Independent Day resurgence, but this actually just solid for me.
Fuck you. That's of all of her movies, that's not the one you can bring up. You're a dick.
It's one of his movies. It's like the number 5 in Google when you search for it.
Oh, her title film on IMDb is Antichrist, so.
Great.
Melancholia, man.
Yeah, she was the sister. Yeah. Honestly, I think that she was good. Gael Garcia Bernal was good. I mean, actually, he was really good.
Yeah, I liked his performance.
Yeah. What would you say that is your favorite movie with Gael Garcia Bernal? ¿Y tu mamá también?
I mean, I can only pick one.
Yeah, only one.
I would probably say Y tu mamá también. Although I have to say, as a salt and pepper daddy in Mozart in the Jungle, Yes, please.
I have to watch that. Yeah, for me, I think that it would be Amores Perros. I love
See,
that
and
movie.
that's something I haven't seen, and we've talked about many times.
Okay, adding it to the list. Let's see if I can
Oh, you know
force it
what?
to.
It's my pick, so
Sure, if you want to go with Amores Perros.
I had picked a Brazilian film that over 1 million Brazilians saw, but
I love that.
I think that maybe I want to.
I think that it's actually on Amazon Video.
All right, let's do it.
So, Amores Perros then?
Oh, I did like The King. You hated The King, but I thought it was so cool.
What was the king?
He's like the bastard son of a preacher, and he goes and wants to have a relationship, but they kind of reject him, so he murders everyone.
Did I watch this?
I'm pretty sure I asked you to watch it, and you hated it, and I was like, oh no.
Maybe I hated it so much that I completely forgot about it, man, but I don't remember it.
Oh, The Limits of Control I really liked, but you don't like that director at all. You don't like it.
Oh
Jim
god, yeah, no, I don't like Jim Jarmusch, man. I mean, no, I'm sorry.
That film even has the one woman I would go straight for, Tilda Swinton.
I don't know if Tilda Swinton would be considered like going straight for, she's so androgynous that it works both ways. Is that you can just keep your sexuality. It's fine.
Also, I'd go straight for Kate Winslet, so
that's
exactly the only woman.
That's true. Did you watch Neruda?
Isn't that like a anime thing?
No, Neruda, based on Pablo Neruda.
Oh no, I saw that trailer come out. It was like a couple years ago, right? And I was like,
3 years ago.
I have no tolerance for Nazis in Argentina. It's a little too close to home.
Okay, no, that's fair. Yeah, that was okay. That was an okay movie. Did you watch No?
It's just a movie called No?
No. N-O.
Nope.
With Garcia Bernal. And it's about like the referendum that they did in the 80s on Chile for kicking Pinochet from the power.
Interesting.
And Guy Garcia Bernal plays like the marketing director for the No campaign.
Yeah, to be honest, I really do like him, but he doesn't often pick projects that I'm interested in. But when he does, I'm like, this. I want more of this.
I think that is an actor that he still is not like the I don't know. I'm trying to think if Penelope Cruz or Bardem they actually have moved into just making American movies, But he's still like in contact with like, no, I want to still like, just make Spanish-speaking movies from time to time.
Yeah, he and Diego Luna still do tons of partnerships, which I think is cool.
Yeah. So next time we're watching then Amores Perros.
Yes, a last-minute pivot. I had my film picked out, but Gael Garcia Bernal's dick has a lot of power.
Okay, no, that's great. Anything else to say about The Science of Sleep?
No, just I really enjoyed it. I feel like I may have come off too negative. I did enjoy the film a lot, so anyone should check it out if they like Michel Gondry.
Definitely, yeah. And if you don't like them, you have to just see something that it feels like visually appealing. It's still good.
Yep.
There is more to it. Yeah, there is more to it, but I think there is like an entertainment that is like, even for face value, is good. But if you keep digging, that's the reason why I went with an 8. It's like, I think that there is more.
Remind me what you scored being John Malkovich, 8.5?
8.5, yeah. I still think that is a better movie. I think that is yeah, I think that is okay. The message may be a bit lower, whatever. I mean, the message maybe both of them they're like a bit weak on the message, but I think that from a directing and from a screenplay perspective, being John Malkovich is better.
Agreed.
But yeah, cool man. Anything else to say about this?
Nope.
Good
choice. I liked it.
Yeah, cool. So whoever is out there listening to us, just get alive. And besides that, thank you so much for listening.
And wash your hands.
Bye.